I am Wei Youyuan from Tongji University. I'm very happy to be able to speak with you today. The theme is Chinese language education in a non-Japanese language environment. I will use the example of JF Oberlin University, a special course at the College of Global Communication, to think about the Chinese language education in a non-Chinese language environment. And the contents are basically the efforts of Professor Yang at Oberlin University and other professors there. Now, at Oberlin, the purpose of Chinese language education is to have students in Japan whose mother tongue is not Chinese acquire the Chinese language. The conditions are, since the courses are offered in Japan, of course, the classroom is not a Chinese language environment, but the teachers can create a Chinese language environment in the classroom. As with most other universities, the class hours are limited. Therefore, it would be difficult to use long hours for education. And the learners are almost all Japanese students. There are some Chinese students who have been born here in Japan, but mainly it is all Japanese. And most of the students have already passed their critical period in language acquisition. According to theory, there are two stages of critical period of language acquisition. From age 1 through 5, children learn languages by mimicking others. And the second stage, from age 11 to around 12, most children would have solidified their knowledge of their mother tongue. It's already fixed. And learning a new language after that will require comprehension ability. So the university students today would be aged 18 to 22 mostly. So it means that they are all past their critical period of language acquisition. Looking at the education model and pedagogy at Oberlin, we try to shower Chinese on our students as much as possible. And there are 3 ways to do this. One is to use Chinese to teach the Chinese language. Most of the teachers are native Chinese speakers, so all conversations in class would be done in Chinese. The second way is to secure the maximum class hours. We have 12 classes per week. It's an intensive training course. One class would last 90 minutes. So it is a very intensive course. Thirdly, class hours alone would not be enough for students to practice their Chinese. Therefore, a lot of tasks would be given to students outside of the classes, so that students can increase the chance to use Chinese. And that leads to sharing Chinese on the students. Now, there are various ways of implementing language use. And mainly, we introduce task teaching. We give the chance of being immersed in Chinese. During one term, outside of the class hours, students are required to complete 5 tasks. There are all kinds of tasks, for example, shopping at a supermarket or interviewing an international student, or tasks assuming that you are traveling. So during the one term, students have to manage 5 tasks, and then they make appointment with their instructors to complete the tasks. We also have a Chinese salon. It is open roughly once every 2 weeks, and the students operate them. There are Japanese students and also Chinese international students as well. They all conduct conversations in Chinese. They can freely pick the topic. It could be something trendy, some hot topics of the day, but we want to provide ample time to practice conversational Chinese. And then we also want students to take part in events using Chinese. At Oberlin University and also at Tongji University, we have speech contests almost every year. The students take interest in these contests and they take part in them. At Oberlin, we also have a karaoke contest every year. The final is sometimes held in China. I have also visited to listen to the songs. Everybody is very talented. They are very good at singing Chinese songs. So there are various ways to have students use their Chinese language and to increase their eagerness to study further. Now, a third point is integrating the 4 skills in carrying out our intensive training. The 4 skills are listening, reading, writing, and speaking. They are all very important. At Oberlin, when we do this, the faculty form a relay of sorts, which means that usually one subject is taught by one teacher, but at Oberlin, it is done differently. One subject is taught comprehensively by multiple faculty. And each professor or teacher have their own unique way of teaching, and students will be able to absorb the specialty area of each teacher. And during one term, there are 4 achievement tests that are carried out. These tests are written exams as well as oral exams to look at the conversational skills. Usually, in a university, these 4 will be divided into 4 different subjects, but at Oberlin, we have all 4, the 4 skills integrated into one subject. And each teacher will be teaching in their own unique way, and I believe that this is very effective. Now, the reason and basis for teaching in this way, our thinking is that we want to maximize the stimulus to learn a new language. So sometimes this is called direct method. At one time, it was quite popular. But through the stimulus, the language will leave a strong and deep impression on the students. Another logic is the comparison method or translation method. At Tongji University, a translation method is being used, and it has its own good and bad aspects. The good aspect is that through this, you can provide an explanation in the student's mother tongue and the students easily understand. But the bad aspect is that it takes a long time. And at Oberlin, we have an integrated teaching to maximize the stimulus frequency. We take the direct method. So that was the first reason for our pedagogy. The second reason is Well, languages are acquired through activities. It's not just by reading the textbooks. After you learn a language, you need to practice it. And by using a language, you can acquire and master that language. So all kinds of language activities would be necessary. As I said earlier, students are given tasks to be completed. And we have speech contests and karaoke contests and other cultural activities where students can experience all kinds of language activities and use their Chinese. So that was the second reason. The third reason is that short-term intensive managed education is effective. At most universities, in the third or fourth year, you may not have many classes of language. The classes could be dispersed, but at Oberlin, in third or fourth year, the dispersed hours are concentrated. In the first and second year, the students will have a very intense Chinese language course. So this concentration, this intensity is increasing the effectiveness. So at Oberlin, in the third or fourth year, of course, students will have to take selective courses, maybe not that much, but they still have to go through that. Now, the fourth reason, as I said earlier, the four skills, reading, speaking, writing, and listening. The four skills are integrated into an intensive course, and in that way, the learning effect becomes higher. At other universities, as well as at Tongji University, the listening, reading, and writing are taught as separate subjects. But at Oberlin, they are all integrated into one. Each teacher will teach from their own perspectives and make sure that students practice repeatedly in order to increase the learning effect. At a higher level, of course, the students may need to practice translation and interpretation skills. But I believe that is at a higher level, and that is a different story. Then my fifth point is to say that the silent period is also effective. Students who started from zero knowledge, at first they study, and until they can start to speak in Chinese, they would go through this silent period. Now, just because they cannot speak, it doesn't mean that it has no effect. Even during the silent period, they will repeatedly receive stimulus. Their brains will be stimulated. And so after a while, they will see the result. All of a sudden, one day, they will be able to speak. We have seen such cases. So we believe that this silent period at the beginning, it could be long for some people, it could be short for others, but it is not a wasteful period, it is very effective. So those are the 5 reasons and basis for our pedagogy. Lastly, we have been teaching like this, and what is the result? I believe I can give you 2 points. One is the first-year students who start from zero knowledge. After 8 months, all students are able to pass the HSK, the Chinese Proficiency Test Level 4. And we have proved this over multiple years. The HSK Level 4 is a test that students at other universities will take after learning Chinese for 4 years and finally pass. But at Oberlin, in just 8 months, all students were able to pass level 4. For second-year students, all students were able to pass the HSK level 5. Level 5 means that the student has acquired language skills that will allow them to study abroad. At Oberlin, students who study Chinese in their second year would be sent to Tongji University in Shanghai as exchange students. But most students before going to Tongji University would have passed level 5. And after the one-year study abroad period, many will be able to pass level 6, which is the highest level. So it just shows that our teaching method is really showing results. The second point is Oberlin students every year do very well in speech contests. For example, the Chinese Bridge Chinese Proficiency Competition for Foreign College Students, the East Japan division of that, is held every year for over 15 years, and Oberlin students every year finish among the top. In the latest 5 years, in 2016, 2017, 2018, and also this year, our students were first place. 2019, we weren't able to take part in the competition, but in all 4 other years, the students placed first. So our students have very high listening comprehension and high skills in using the language. So that is how we teach the Chinese language. Of course, there may be improvements to be made, but so far, this is how we taught, and these are the results that we have been able to achieve. So I believe it proves that our way of teaching is effective, and we want to improve so that we can have better learning effects. That is all from myself. I would be willing to listen to your opinion and comments. Thank you very much for your kind attention.